I'm thrilled to announce we have a sponsor for the show, and it's a group that I've relied on for many, many years, the Pew Research Center. And the thing they do that I love the most as a guy who enjoys religion and statistics is their religious landscape study, which Pew has been conducting for nearly 20 years. With responses from over 35,000 Americans across all 50 states, the religious landscape study is a comprehensive look at faith, beliefs, and identity in our lives and our country. It is the single largest survey Pew Research Center conducts, aiming to provide authoritative information on the size and characteristics of U.S. religious groups, because guess what? The U.S. Census Bureau does not collect that information. On the Religious Landscape Studies interactive website, you can find survey data by metro area, state or region, or for the whole United States. You can also explore the social and political views and demographic traits of U.S. religious groups. I use that data all the time. Pew Research Center conducts high-quality research to inform the public, journalists, and leaders about the issues, attitudes, and trends shaping our world. Studying trends in U.S. religion is a key part of the center's long-standing research agenda. To learn more about the religious landscape study and dive into the data yourself, visit pewresearch.org/RLS. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. Hello.
Hi, friend. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I am here.
You are here.
No, I'm fine. Thanks.
What you are going to Seattle?
Yes, I'm going to Seattle in a few weeks. I'm really excited. I am going to be having a meetup in Snoqualmie, which is, I think, like 30 miles east of Seattle. It's beautiful. The Snoqualmie Brewing Company is what it's called. It's going to be on Saturday the 21st. Can you verify that's the Saturday? Because I think I messed up the date before.
Saturday is the 21st.
Perfect. We're going to meet there at 7 o'clock because they're having, I don't know if I've talked about this, but we're going because my husband's a big Twin Peaks fan, and that's where it all takes place. And there's like a little meetup thing. He's very excited and very dorky. And that night is in the upstairs of the brewery is Twin Peaks trivia.
Oh my
and downstairs in the brewery is me not doing trivia because I am not going to be helpful for anybody. So yeah, we will be there. I'm super excited to see everybody. Apparently there's been, people are excited. I was really, really worried that it would be too far away from like a major metro, but then I realized I made people come out to Naperville for our last meetup. So
if you're interested, go to the Facebook group and there's the information there. And that link is in the show notes.
Yep.
And with that, let's talk about the story that seemed to be everywhere this week, which involves an anti-ICE protest at a Minnesota church.
Oh, yes.
And basically, here's the background you should know if you know nothing about this particular story. ICE, like the Trump Gestapo, I'm going to get brown people force, They've been going to churches to go after immigrants or anyone they think deserves to be deported. Mm-hmm. They have arrested people on church property. There was a lawsuit against ICE that said specifically, and I'm quoting here, ICE seized a man in front of a church near Los Angeles and brandished a rifle at a pastor in the process, detained a grandfather in the same city who was dropping his granddaughter off at a church school, arrested a man outside a church in Oregon, and carried out arrests on 2 Catholic parish properties in Montclair and Highland, California.
Just like Jesus
ICE,
wanted.
Very much. ICE has no problem going to churches to get the browns.
Right.
So that's why a lot of pastors in immigrant-heavy areas have told worshipers, hey, just stay home. Don't come to church. It's dangerous for you. That is what they're resorting to, like the Republican Party, that is like the party of faith.
Right.
They're making it so people can't go to church feeling safe.
Right.
And that is the reason also why about 3 dozen activists in Minneapolis and St. Paul, where an ICE agent murdered Renee Good earlier this month, about 3 dozen activists decided to go inside of a church. Last weekend, it's City's Church in St. Paul. It's a Southern Baptist Convention affiliated church. They went there on Sunday morning. Basically, they went into the building, yelled things like ICE out and justice for Renee Good. It was a peaceful protest, and then they left. But of course, when you barge into a church, one, people are like, we don't know who's here. That's scary. I do understand that one. Yeah. Once you realize, oh, they're just yelling out stuff like that, it's okay, they're doing a protest.
Also, that's maybe your moment of empathy of, you hear somebody banging on your door and you're instantly scared. Imagine what that must be like for many, 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 many
Right.
American citizens.
But the thing is, this isn't some random church they were going to. That would have been stupid.
Yeah.
This particular church, one of the pastors on staff, they have like a bunch of pastors on staff, is a guy named David Easterwood. And he is also the acting director of a local ICE field office.
Yep.
And so they went to, and by the way, this guy, not only is he a local ICE leader, Kristi Noem did a press conference in Minneapolis, and he's standing there right behind her. He went up to the mic to talk about how they're rounding up the brown people, etc.
So proud.
And that's why they were going to his church. I don't even know if he was there that day. I don't think he was. He wasn't on any of the video feeds that they were taking, but it didn't matter. They were saying, we're going to yours because you're part of the problem.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you attend a church like this, you're complicit.
You should be, and maybe they're not aware, like giving
Maybe
them the
they're
benefit
not.
of the doubt.
Right. And so it was a peaceful protest organized by the Racial Justice Network, Black Lives Matter Minnesota, and Black Lives Matter Twin Cities. And to be clear, what they did inside that church, which is just chanting like those slogans, that is nothing compared to the actual harm that ICE has done to that community.
Like shooting people in the face?
Like shooting
that
people
would
in
be
the
one
face.
example I think of.
But now the Department of Justice, which says, we're not going to investigate the shooting of Renee Good. That officer was like the real victim here.
Well, good news. There's more courts than just the federal court, so the state and local jurisdictions still are very much going to...
I don't think they're able to. The state's not able to do it because the Justice Department's like, we have... I don't know the details, but I don't think they can do it in the state right now. They can't investigate him. But in any case, they're now pretending the church protest was really the most tragic thing that has happened in Minnesota.
Well, they interrupted their quiet time.
Yeah, this is Harmeet Dillon, who's the Department of Justice Assistant Attorney General. She said her agency is investigating federal civil rights violations by these people desecrating a house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers. This is what she said on social media. A house of worship is not a public forum for your protest. It is a space protected from exactly such acts by federal, criminal, and civil laws. And if there's one thing we know about Republicans, they care about laws.
Isn't ICE like raiding mosques?
That somehow escaped her attention.
Well, it's because she
Shooting
can't see people who aren't white.
Well, shooting white people in the face is okay if they're liberal. We forgot that law.
Yeah.
And also desecrating a house of worship? Who's desecrating the church? Is it the people who came inside to protest peacefully, or is it the pastor who gets up in the pulpit, talks about Jesus, then during his day job goes to terrorize brown people every day? Who's doing more harm to the church? By the way, the same right-wing mob furious about that, they're also mad because former CNN anchor Don Lemon
was about to say, I've been watching Don Lemon all week.
Was made aware of the protest in advance, so he brought a camera with him, and he's like, all right, I'm going to live stream this too.
Yeah.
He had nothing to do with the organizing, but he was there, which, by the way, Dr. Phil... Remember early on in this administration's term, he went on an ICE raid and he's like, he brought a camera along.
Dr. Phil?
Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil of Dr. Phil?
Dr. Phil of Oprah has unleashed the worst people onto us, Dr. Phil.
He went on an ICE raid?
Yeah.
He's got to
and
be
live
in his
streamed
70s.
It. He very much is.
I see here that you're with your children, and I just think that that's too bad that you made these poor choices. Shut your pie hole.
Somehow more advanced training than everyone who works for ICE. So now they all want...
I didn't even know I had a Dr. Phil in me. I think it was pretty good.
Oh, you don't? So they all want to go after Don Lemon too. But basically, one Reddit user said there's another meaning of the word prophecy when people say they're prophetic, which is speaking the truth of God to people who need a correction. So they would argue that the people in the church who were protesting, the people in the church were far better off listening to the protesters because they were the prophetic ones speaking truth to power, which is what the congregation needs to hear.
And also, they're not the white supremacists. So I think just that alone puts them in a kind of moral high ground there.
And there are going to be critics, and I've seen them online, and let's assume I'm only talking about the good faith critics here who say this is not strategic, who say this is just playing into the right-wing persecution complex, that it fuels a narrative in conservative media that protesters are against Christianity. And my response to all that is, if you know anything about right-wing media, those narratives were written long before anything happened. They're going to use anything to justify that story, no matter how insignificant it is. If a pastor got a paper cut, they would say that's what liberals are doing to you.
They shot a white woman in the face and blamed it on liberals. Like, these people, let's not kowtow to what their perceived narrative of things is. Like, that's the point of protests. You're supposed to be disruptive. Protests are the voice of the voiceless.
My favorite form of pushback from the right for against people who are defending what the protesters did is they're like, you do not want this to be the precedent you use, because you wouldn't like it if like white supremacists came into your church, or like white supremacists, anti-gay people like came into your church to protest what you're preaching. And it's like, buddy, in this situation,
that's not it.
It's the like racial support side. It's the side in favor of inclusion,
right,
that's going to the church full of white supremacists. So your analogy does not work. The good guys are coming into the bad church to protest. You're trying to flip it. That's not how it works. But in any case, the Christians in the church, what do they have to deal with? A minor inconvenience.
Right.
They were not blocked from going to church. The service continued after about 20 minutes, and they dealt with a minor inconvenience. That is nothing compared to the horrors that have been inflicted to entire groups of people, in part because a pastor at that church is personally leading a group of law-breaking mercenaries backed by the government.
I think also this sort of analogy of what if white supremacists were marched into your black church, which like, hello, 1960s, nice to meet you. Like, it's not like that's never happened.
Do you understand that all of this has happened before?
And also, I think there is a willfully naive element of who is in power here. If white supremacists are in power, that means black people are not getting justice for crimes committed against them. White people who are committing crimes are not being held accountable. The people in power are the white supremacists. This is not the powerful people marching on the poor people. These are the voiceless. These are the ones who are being taken out of their homes by this Gestapo. That is not the same thing as white supremacists going to a black church.
Right.
These are people
You're saying it better than I did. Yes, I fully agree with that.
Did everybody hear that compliment?
And the thing is, oppressive powers are never calm when faced with civil disobedience. They never have been.
No.
And like when John Lewis talks about good trouble, that is meant to take people out of their comfort zones. What this protest did, again, temporary inconvenience. Yeah, it was a little awkward for you, wasn't it, to hear that?
Imagine if it ended with you getting shot in the face. That would be even more awkward.
Right. And what else? I'm struggling to answer this question too. What else are protesters supposed to do at this point?
No, they don't. Nothing.
Conservatives flipped out when the mayor of Minneapolis, Jacob Frey, told ICE to, quote, get the fuck out of my city.
Boy, he was everybody's internet crush this week, huh?
As if a curse word was worse than what ICE was actually doing. Like, the right treats everything as a 5-alarm fire, and they escalate in response to everything. Republicans are not listening to anyone else. So you know what? A protest like this might get someone's attention. And I've heard the same eye rolls. Do you know, like those climate change protesters who sometimes throw
paint on things
at Stonehenge or whatever? It's like, why are they doing that? I'm not saying I love it. I'm saying I get why they're doing it, because nothing is working. And maybe if we pretend to do harm to this thing, maybe that'll get some of your attention, because nothing else is. And what else do you want us to do?
I feel like people were more angry about like the fake Mona Lisa burning in Glass Onion than people are about like this.
Which is their point. And like, if protests are forbidden in houses of worship, well, then surely ICE raids on church property are illegal too. But again, Trump administration didn't mention that.
That's the other thing, is we've talked about, how many times have we talked about stories where somebody gets away with something because when they confessed to all of their crimes, they were either like within spitting distance of a church or like with somebody who's ever been in a church before. And they're like, oh, well, this is confession. We can't use this.
Right.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry. Where's the sanctity of that when you're going into churches and dragging people out?
Yeah.
And this is always, I think, going to be a problem with the Republicans, and they're going to keep getting away with it because it's kind of impossible to fight against, is that they do the thing that I talk about of like a sin is a sin is a sin. Like, it's either good or bad. It's black and white. So like maybe shooting a woman in the face was a bad thing, but also protesting in a church is a bad thing. So one bad thing for you guys, one bad thing for us.
Right.
Like their ability to rate.
That also describes how the New York Times describes everything.
Yeah, that's true. That's also very true.
Both sides have thoughts about Greenland.
What the fuck is going on with Greenland?
Not only that, it's not just the ICE raids and the protests. Like that pastor who has a side gig. I mean, I don't know which one's his side gig. Is it the ICE like terrorizing brown people, or is it the pastoring?
He would need like
but that
a
guy,
part-time job.
That guy has no business teaching others how to lead a moral life.
Yeah, dog.
And according to ABC News, Easterwood, in a lawsuit filed earlier this month, he defended ICE tactics in Minnesota, including spraying protesters with chemical irritants.
Oh, good.
That's what the pastor's doing. And by the way,
You got to do what you got to do.
that's just one pastor. What about the guy who I believe was actually preaching that morning when the protests happened? I believe that was lead pastor Jonathan Parnell. Well, here's a story about him. Parnell serves on the board of trustees of Bethlehem College and Seminary in Minneapolis, which is a school founded by Baptist preacher John Piper. And just last week, a professor, or 2 weeks ago, a professor at that school, same circles, he used their Sunday service at another church to pray for God to bless ICE and break the teeth of ICE's opponents. That's what he said. Same circles of people. Break the teeth is a direct quote.
Like he's going to curb stomp them?
I guess.
Oh,
like Jesus wanted.
God. Oh, their little teeth. Oh.
So Easterwood wasn't even there that Sunday, but he doesn't deserve a moment of calm anywhere he goes for the rest of his life. I want him to be treated the way activists treat any Republican who goes to a restaurant, which is make their life a living hell. Don't let them go out in public without knowing they're pieces of shit.
Yep.
That's my kind way of saying that's how they deserve to be treated.
Yeah.
And in fact, the people in the congregation should be ashamed of what they have allowed to have happen under their name. That is what one of the organizers of the protest said. This is Nakima Levy Armstrong, who leads one of the groups that was organizing it. When you think about the federal government unleashing barbaric ICE agents upon our community and all the harm they have caused, to have someone serving as a pastor who oversees these ICE agents is almost unfathomable to me. If people are more concerned about someone coming to a church on a Sunday and disrupting business as usual than they are about the atrocities that we are experiencing in our community, then they need to check their theology and they need to check their hearts. By the way, she added, Jesus went into the so-called houses of God. He flipped over tables, so that's what we did today. We flipped over a table for truth, justice, and righteousness.
Yeah, we've all seen Jesus Christ Superstar. We know what happens.
Harmeet Dillon.
And it happens in 7/8 time. That's a music
there you
joke.
go. Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General, she also went on a right-wing podcast where she said, she was talking about the protests and said, the people on the left we're talking about, they're not familiar with what goes on in a house of worship. A lot of them are godless people.
Wait, I'm sorry, what was the beginning of that sentence?
She said the reason they're protesting a church, like they don't understand what happens inside of a church. I think she's implying it's a sacred space and these godless heathens, they don't understand that.
I mean, not
even close. First of all, this wasn't an attack on Christianity. This wasn't an attack by the godless.
Attack on a terrible dude.
This is a protest against cruelty. Yeah. And guess what? Plenty of Christians participated in and endorsed it. One Lutheran minister wrote this online. You cannot worship a savior on Sunday who is crucified by a violent state, while the rest of the week acting as a violent agent of an unjust state force who is killing and targeting Americans according to hate.
Correct.
By the way, one of the organizers, the one I just quoted earlier, she's a reverend.
But she doesn't understand what happens in a church.
Apparently a godless reverend, right?
Oof.
So now,
I'm legally a godless reverend.
There you go. The federal government is going to go after these protesters for something. Like the Department of Justice said, we're looking into the FACE Act, which is the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act. And they love this. Yeah. They're using, there is a law that basically was passed, I believe, by Democrats years and years ago, but it says you're allowed to protest outside abortion clinics, but you can't block access to it. You can't do that.
Right.
Okay, fine. That same law also applies to churches. You can protest outside the Catholic Church if you want, but you can't block people from accessing it, worshiping how they want to worship, etc. Okay, fine. The law specifically says it bans anyone from obstructing, desecrating, or preventing access to houses of worship and abortion clinics.
It doesn't sound like they've done any of these
things. And the protesters didn't do any of that. They came inside, chanted their slogans, and left.
Yeah.
Mind you, right-wing protesters have done exactly that to LGBTQ churches. Affirming churches.
Of course.
And Justice Department was nowhere to be found on any of that
And
stuff.
Don Lemon was there. And so they got to meet him. Like, what are they complaining about?
Right. So to
There
watch...
was one really funny moment where, like, Don Lemon was, like, interviewing somebody in the street, and a guy, like, clocked him as just being a black dude and starts yelling at him. And then another dude was like, dude, that's Don Lemon! Shut up! And it was really funny. It was just such a, like, break in the facade of, like, oh, shit. Oh, my God. I thought you were just a random black guy I could yell at. No, you're
in Minnesota, no less.
Sweetheart, Don
Like,
Lemon.
what happened in that church was peaceful, targeted, and arguably in line with Christian theology.
Yeah.
No one was attacking anyone's faith, but you can bet Republicans will do everything they can to get attention away from the ICE shooters, the abuses that are happening under their purview, and try to pretend, look what they're doing. They're chanting inside of a church. So we need to send more untrained agents and Dr. Phil to Minnesota.
Dr. Phil, what are you doing, buddy? Yeah, I just... I don't know. I really am... It's really hard to watch what's going on. And I feel like since I was in high school, I'm sure before, there was always in history class the question of like, well, what would you do? What would you do in, 1930s Germany? What would you do if this? And the answer has been for the last 20 years, what you're doing right now, because it's been building to this. But like, it's so embarrassing for me to see these don't tread on me dum-dums going out there and like just treading on everyone they can find. Like truly, like the what's his face who killed Renee Good? He had a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, which is supposed to be like the American government can't come in and tell me what to do, and that's why I need guns in case the American government gets big. And it's like what? Nope, this is it. You're just like fine with the people they're targeting right now because you don't believe black people, brown people are full human beings in their own right. Anyway, this is a neat year that we have so far.
Shall we move to a different story? Let's talk about Texas. This is just blatant. We're asking for a lawsuit and we want to fight this. Tarrant County, the sheriff's office in Texas, the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office, they just unveiled in front of their courthouse, the Tarrant County Courthouse, a massive standalone Ten Commandments monument. It's huge. They put it up there this week and they're like, look at it, people.
Are there any... where's Tarrant County? Are there any towns in it or cities? Or is it just mostly...
if you don't live in Texas, it's like, this must be one of them rural places in Texas where 3 people live. Nope. It's really big. It's really massive, but it is run by Republicans. And so... in case there's any doubt about why they put this Ten Commandments monument up there, when they had their unveiling ceremony about a week ago, they had the head of the conservative group First Liberty Institute, the legal group. They also had Tim Barton, who is son of pseudo-historian David Barton.
Oh, he procreated?
Is he a while ago. And they are, he's probably younger than us, but he is...
Oh, do you think I could beat him up?
Clone. He is a clone of his father in the worst possible way.
Oh, do you think I could beat him up?
I'm sure that's not going to age well. So the guy who runs the legal group, here's what he said. This is Kelly...
dunk some nerds.
Kelly Shackelford. He said, a country that doesn't understand its moral and religious traditions and background doesn't know who it is. which is extremely ironic
Those
given
are
that
all words, I
Republicans
guess.
are bending over backwards to appease the leader of a wildly and obviously corrupt administration.
Quick sidebar. I'm listening to on This Day in Esoteric Political History. They're doing a semi-quincentennial year-long thing about the 250th anniversary, and they just did a 2-part episode about the original bicentennial, and it's like it kicked off in a time when Nixon was like in big trouble and all this shit was happening in turmoil, and they were talking about how complicated it was to like be faced with this idea of patriotism at the same time of losing faith in your government, and they're kind of talking about all these complications, and they're like, yeah, but Trump wants to mint a coin. Like at least Nixon didn't try to put his stupid fucking name and face on everything. Like, you know what I mean? Anyway, that's just what I've been thinking about.
You guys know I like to hike, and the new National Park Pass, the year-long pass you could buy to get entrance everywhere, has his big dumb face on it next to George Washington.
Not.
And the discussion on all the forums and stuff is,
can I desecrate it?
Can I desecrate his face on it?
Yeah.
They've made it very clear. If you do that, this pass no longer valid.
Oh, boy. How many meetings do you think
There
they
is
had
also
to
a lawsuit.
discuss that?
There's also a lawsuit to fight that particular entrance pass because they have a law that says you're allowed to use a specific type of image on that pass, and they're violating that law. It's like a
the
nature
stamps thing.
It's like there's a nature picture that you're supposed to put on it.
Sure.
And that's not this. Anyway, it's the dumbest thing. But to your point of he puts his big dumb face everywhere.
Do you know what? Over Heaven's shoulder, I don't think you can see it, but there's a painting that I had done off of a photograph that my husband took, and it's kind of me, but I'm like not really facing the camera. And I did so much soul searching of like, am I going to put a painting of my stupid face in my kitchen behind where Heaven
why not?
records? And I have a nice looking face. Imagine Donald Trump's fucking face, and he wants that dumb thing everywhere. Ugh.
Tennessee State Representative Nate Schatzline, he was also at the unveiling, and this is what he said when he said it. We don't just make room for you, God. We give you Tarrant County. Father, we rededicate this land, this county. Tarrant County is the Lord's.
Okay, so is he paying taxes or...
God's not paying taxes on any of that. So how did this happen? In April, the conservative majority on the city council, they voted to accept the monument as a gift. And they argued, hey, it's basically the same as a monument that sits outside the Texas state capitol, which is true. If you've been to the state capitol, you will see that 10 Commandments monument there. And specifically, they said, see, the Supreme Court said that monument in front of the Texas Capitol is legal. Therefore, we can have our monument. Which is such a bad argument for one obvious reason. When the Supreme Court made that decision in 2005, like 17 lifetimes ago, what they said is what they're doing in Texas. They have a 10 Commandments monument, yes, outside the state capitol, but it's actually part of they have a whole bunch of displays, a whole bunch of monuments around there about different laws. Like I'm making this up. There's one that has the Bill of Rights and the Magna Carta and the Declaration, and it's part of a bigger display. So we're saying that doesn't promote Christianity, so it's okay. And the same day they made that ruling, they said, oh, by the way, there's another 10 Commandments monument outside a Kentucky courthouse that's just a straight up 10 Commandments monument by itself. That one's illegal.
Okay.
And what's the one in front of the Tarrant County Courthouse? It's like the one in Kentucky. It's a standalone Christian monument. Yeah. So this idea that, hey, the one outside the Texas Capitol is legal, so we can do this. No, it's not. It's literally the opposite. And if you had all these lawyers at the unveiling, one of them could have told you that's not how this works.
But they don't care.
None of them care. And they know it. They know that it's not analogous. And the reason they're now going with to justify why theirs is okay, because this is the argument they know they're going to make when they get to court.
It's tradition. It's been there since January.
Yeah, exactly. It's been there for like a week. Yeah. That's practically a century.
My kids don't remember a time that it wasn't there. He's 2 weeks old.
This is the thing. They cannot use the tradition argument. They know that. Yeah, so what are they going with? They're saying the 10 Commandments, this is Shackelford, the legal guy, the 10 Commandments are a symbol of law and moral conduct with both religious and secular significance for all Americans.
Tell me the name of this county again.
Tarrant, Tarrant. I could be wrong, but I think it's outside Dallas, Fort Worth. But it's bullshit, this argument that he's making, because when Republicans made similar arguments that it's about law and morality, and it's secular people worship the Ten Commandments too. When they made that argument to justify the Ten Commandments going up in public schools in Texas, a federal judge shot it down immediately and basically said there are ways students can be taught any relevant history of the Ten Commandments without the state selecting an official version of scripture, approving it in state law, and displaying it in every classroom on a permanent basis.
Yeah.
And that applies here too. Obviously, the Ten Commandments, the first 4 are straight up Christianity, has nothing to do with law. No one's even pretending to argue those are laws. Like, don't take any God before me, don't obey, worship false
if those
idols.
construction workers lift a finger on a Sunday, I swear to God, I will knock that whole thing over.
When they were debating the Ten Commandments in public schools law a couple years ago, it was James Tallarico, the guy who's now running for Senate as a Democrat, who made exactly that argument. Like, excuse me, I have a question during this committee. Do we work on the Sabbath in this body? Like, right? Like, has anyone, I mean,
has anyone said
the
something
Attorney
mean to their
General
parents?
of Texas, Ken Paxton, has broken like at least 9 of these commandments. And that's only because I don't know yet who he's killed. Unless you count the death penalty, which he's definitely supportive of.
Or maybe if you count like those little kids who died in a Christian camp because they defunded their weather services. Maybe that blood's on his hand.
By the way,
we have a lot of people to choose from who died by accident in Texas due to negligence of their government.
This week, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals heard a case about those 10 commandments in public schools. The update on that one, while we're talking about this story, is that 3 different states have passed laws to put the 10 commandments in public schools. And 2 of those states, like a federal judge has knocked them down. In all of the states, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana,
Texas, and Arkansas.
2 of those states, federal judges have already said these are illegal. And an appellate court, appellate court, by I think a 2-to-1 vote said, yeah, it's illegal. You cannot do this. And then the right wing appealed again. They're like, hey, can we get all of the judges on the Fifth Circuit to look at this case again?
I remember this.
And that's what they did this week. They heard that case.
Yeah.
But even there, the argument that this is historical.
It's so funny.
Every single judge who's looked at the facts are like, there's nothing historical about the 10 Commandments. It's not like they were put up in public schools. It's not like there's a history of courthouses putting up the 10 Commandments.
Right.
So you cannot lie with that.
Just because you saw that Charlton Heston movie when you're a kid doesn't mean it's historical.
And by the way, most of the reason these monuments exist is as promotional tools for that Charlton Heston 10 Commandments
movie.
movie.
learned that on this very program, and I made a lot of noises about it.
But to state why this monument is illegal, it flatly promotes Christianity.
Duh.
It uses the King James Bible translation, one that many Christians don't use. It tells
what are the
citizens.
differentiations there?
Just
do you know?
Old school, if you
it's like older than...
It's like 1600s King James Version.
Oh, yeah.
Versus all the newer translations that make it easier to read, where some Christians are like, yeah, we use this translation, and the old school ones are like, excuse me, the word is thou.
I'm so sorry, but the idea of people being precious about wording, like, oh my God, this is the word of God, but it's the word of God as...
We care about pronouns as Republicans, and the word is thou. Anyway, we hate trans people.
The things these people get precious about is hysterical.
And again, what are the commandments they're promoting here that they claim has to do with secular law? You can't make false idols. You can't take God's name in vain. Gotta rest on whatever day you decide Sabbath is. Can't have sex with people you're not married to. You can't covet what your neighbors have. Like, none of those are secular laws.
Nope.
That is a crime, even in Texas.
And especially the covet one. Like, one of my great, like, criticisms or I don't know, fears of people who grow up in this kind of, like, culture of Christianity is the thought crime piece of it. Of, like, oh, if you looked at a woman, you've committed the sin of lust in your heart. And it's like, okay, well, what? What
am I supposed to do during church if I'm not allowed to think about other things?
Exactly. Like, it just seems so wild to me that it's like, even if you think this, you're bad. And like, maybe that explains a lot of these people are just able to block out unpleasant thoughts like a light switch.
Church would be so much better if they just used the time to remove the stick from everyone's asses.
Wouldn't that be nice?
One of the groups that is fighting against this is the Faith and Justice Coalition of Tarrant County, and they released this statement in response to the monument. By displaying a monument bearing the King James interpretation of the Ten Commandments, the county elevates a sacred text associated with a particular religious tradition, namely Christianity, above others. This sends an exclusionary message to the many people in our community who practice different faiths or no faith at all, ... In a place where residents come seeking justice, the courthouse, no one should feel like an outsider because of their beliefs.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the Freedom from Religion Foundation, after the unveiling, they sent a letter to the county saying, so take it down.
Yeah.
We're looking at this.
See ya.
They could have done that in April when the city council agreed to put up the monument. But I guess I'm just speculating here. I think the difference is, yeah, they said it was okay, but they didn't do it yet. Now they've done it. Now they've put the monument up.
Oh, I
see.
see.
So now FFRF has sent the letter saying, you can't do that, take it down.
Yeah.
And if they don't, the lawsuit, I assume, is going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the game the religious right wants to play. They're going to make an argument that you can put up the Ten Commandments because it's tradition or it's secular law.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with promoting Christianity. And they think they're going to be able to win because of who's on the courts now. And again, my only optimistic hope here is that usually, like when the Supreme Court has looked at any of these types of cases, they try sometimes to find like borderline cases, like the football coach who's praying at midfield, where they're like, we can get away with changing the law here by just lying about the facts of the case and pretending like he wasn't imposing his faith on everybody. When it comes to something as blatantly illegal as a Christian monument outside of a courthouse, you're making it hard for even some of the conservative justices on the Supreme Court to say, yeah, this is secular, because now you're making them look like idiots.
Yeah.
And they're like,
the
no,
secular
you gotta,
God you're supposed to worship.
You got to give us a little more to work with here. If you said we're open to other monuments, if you could pay the $10,000 fee or whatever, they might be able to get away with it. Nope, they're not doing any of that.
So they're not even. Do you think this is a matter of like we're not giving an inch because
the Christian right?
Because we, don't believe the rules apply to
I think
us?
that's it. We can get away with anything we want right now. Let's push hard. Let's go for it. And who's going to stop us? And right now, the answer is the courts maybe. And they're banking on that because it'll be a long process. And in the meantime, the more courthouses that put up these types of monuments, it gets harder and harder to finally take them all down, even though, too bad, that was your waste of money. That was your waste of time. Courts shouldn't be affected by that.
Taxpayers are. Jeez Louise.
All right. I got a totally different story here,
Sorry, before you move on, I know you already were at the time. Have you ever seen one of the Ten Commandments monuments in person?
Yes, the Texas one. I know
Me
I have.
too. Isn't it underwhelming and stupid looking?
They're all stupid looking.
Like, I remember, this was in 2011.
I mean, the formatting is bad.
Yeah, right? But I remember I was in Austin for my cousin's wedding. And I remember walking around the Capitol building, and I kind of saw it, and it was, if I remember right, kind of off in a corner on like a little lonely hill. And I was just like, this is 2011. This is before like I even met you. And I was like, this is fucking stupid looking.
What
are
is
we
what all
doing
the fuss is
here?
about?
What? This isn't like, what is this? Who is this for?
Yeah.
And then I found Hammett and bullied him and then started a podcast.
There you go. This is a completely different story, but I was shocked to see this. Random right-wing extremist, name is Mike.
Of course, his name is Mike.
He is a Catholic. He's also a follower of Nick Fuentes, who is this white supremacist on the right.
A local legend.
Local legend, yes. Nick Fuentes' followers are called groypers. This guy is very much a groyper.
Is that what that means?
Yes.
What does it mean, though?
It means you
what
follow
does the
this
word
white
mean?
supremacist.
What is the?
I don't
is
know.
It like
I'm sure it's some stupid meme-related thing. But that dude went on social media, posted a video of himself like in his car, just talking to the camera sort of thing. And he basically announced to the world what he did at church. And I'm going to read you what he said. And it's all horrible, but I'm going to read it exactly as he said it. All right?
Where is this taking place?
In his car.
No. But where is the car located? What state?
As far as we're concerned, there's no location because he's random. He didn't say
everywhere.
anything.
He's ephemeral.
Everywhere. Here's what he said. Okay, well, I did a bad thing in church today. I refused to receive the Eucharist from an Indian woman. I was supposed to go to her. She was in my aisle. But across the church was the white priest. So I walked across all the pews and received it from him for fear that I might get fecal matter on my Eucharist, receiving it from an Indian woman. Plus, I'm not going to receive it from anyone who's non-white. Sorry. Considering what's happening in the US and in the world with our replacement, I'm not doing that. I guess I'll go confess this to my priest, but I'll continue doing it. That's the compromise. Unquote.
Oh my God. These people.
Said this out loud on video.
And then posted it on the internet.
He's like, yep, nailed it. One take, publish.
Not to be crass, but is that a stereotype I'm unfamiliar with?
Yes.
That you have poop on your hands?
Uh-huh.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And you're right. It's just a nasty stereotype that has no basis in anything.
I've never heard that before. And
I learn a lot about myself from Twitter mentions.
I just grew up in
Did you know I was an immigrant who shouldn't be here?
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Have you gotten your green card yet?
Found that out too.
Oh my God, that's so wild.
He also is alluding to the Great Replacement Theory, which is the white supremacist conspiracy that Caucasians are being systematically outnumbered and therefore losing their power.
Is anybody else surprised he didn't mention that it's a woman that he had a problem with? Because I feel
no. The problem isn't woman.
It's that she's brown.
Do you
think she's actually Indian, or do you think she's from Thailand and he just has no idea what Asian people look like?
Entirely possible. So what's weird to me in that video, the racism is the racism. That's what I expect from Republicans these days.
Yeah, that's base level.
But the acknowledgement, I did a bad thing. It's bad. And yet... No. He also says sorry as if he feels the need to apologize because he knows racism is bad, but then he's like, but I'm going to keep doing it.
This is a real are you bragging or complaining situation. This man, oh my God, do we know anything else about him?
Oh, I'll tell you in a bit.
Oh, thank Christ.
It's also weird that he says he's going to confess this to a priest because that's weird to me because he's like, I'll get away with it because whatever. I'll go to church. I will confess that I did a sin of racism. I'll say my Hail Marys and I'll be fine.
Racism.
Yeah, that's his theory. Yeah. He'll say the Hail Marys or whatever, and then he'll be fine and atone for. But even according to Catholics, confession only counts if you're sincere about it. And this guy is not sincere about it.
Is that really one of the qualifications?
Own rules, it makes no sense.
Jesus.
There was a community note under his post on Twitter.
Perfect.
Where they said, and they only put those on stuff that's going viral usually. And they're like, we need to correct this as it's going. They won't stop it from going viral. They won't stop this dude from spreading racism.
So they put their hands on it? I thought it was just a thing that anybody... Anyway, go ahead.
Well, here's what the reader's note says.
Oh, God.
Contrary to the impression given here, a Catholic who confesses a sin with no intention of avoiding it in the future will not be forgiven it.
Oh, well, that really fucks up my theory last week about all the gangsters who would confess on Sunday mornings, huh? Because I think they were planning on doing that again.
But the reactions to that video, I will say, have been intense. Not just calling out the racism, but people pointed out the whole idea of communion is to celebrate Jesus as one body. So what you are doing by I'm not taking it from you, that violates the whole spirit of the little ritual we have going here. That's one thing. Number 2, does this guy realize that Jesus wasn't white?
No. Oh,
Number
God,
3,
no.
Why was he filming while driving? Which is what he was doing. So he came so close. Number 4, does this guy seriously think men wash their hands more than women?
That's such a good point. Oh, that's such a good point.
Also,
yuckaroo.
It's not just random people saying this stuff online. Prominent Catholics have been doing the same. Trump-supporting conservatives have been doing the same, which is hilarious to me because they're like, excuse me, we like our racism a little more subtle.
Yeah. Excuse me. Could you please not say Indian? Can you just say immigrant?
Not that this guy, Mike, cares, but before the election, he's not a fan of J.D. Vance. Because J.D. Vance, of course, married to an Indian woman.
He's married to an Indian woman.
He's still not a fan, by the way. But anyway, I was watching, he made a video back in August whining about how Catholic congregations were, quote, getting too diverse.
Oh my God.
And Mike, the same Mike, he went viral last year because he made a post about how when he ordered Chipotle, hold the irony here, when he ordered a Chipotle burrito in the restaurant, it was this big, but when he ordered it from like DoorDash, it was smaller. And hey, Chipotle, why are you screwing me out of my burrito? That was a post he made.
What the fuck did you just say to me?
Don't worry about it. He took two pictures.
He's implying that he got more fillings when he was in person at Chipotle than he did ordering it, and that is.
And how dare you, Chipotle? And he
even though
posted
you can,
that
you
on
watch the
social
fucking
media.
person make it in front of you, and they're just like scooping ad hoc, and they're 18-year-old kids who are talking to Hemet. Remember when we used to go to Chipotle after we
Not
recorded,
even close.
and we would always see your kids, and they would yell like, "You don't remember that?
Nope.
Not your kids, but your students."
Right? No. But
What
he
a
posted
fucking
this
dum-dum.
picture and it went viral because people are like, hey, Chipotle, this is weird. Why are you doing this? But the thing is, this dude, who is a racist,
Dadoy
loves his Mexican food, but hates brown people.
This is like that ice raid that they ate at a Mexican restaurant and then raided the fucking kitchen. Those motherfucking
I believe
monsters.
there was a picture of Carolyn Levitt, the Trump spokesperson, also eating at a Mexican restaurant like in the past month.
You don't get to. You just don't get to. Sorry.
So you asked, where did this take place? And the thing is, Mike didn't say where this took place. And the thing is, all the responses to his video didn't explain, where does he go to church? Where is this happening? Is this true? Can we confirm it?
Do we have any part of the country that he's in? Because obviously he's...
Because I get very bored and I go down the rabbit hole.
So much time
I'm watching all of his racist videos now. My algorithm is screwed.
Did you learn any new racist facts about yourself?
So many.
Oh, congratulations.
But it turns out, he said in a video last year, he attends St. Elizabeth Roman Catholic Church in Chester Springs, Pennsylvania. And so I went to the website for the church and I emailed the church and I'm like, hello, tell me about your white supremacist member. Are you cool with him? Do you support what he did? Tell me something, people, because there's no mention on their Facebook page or anything.
I love when Hemet snitches.
That they acknowledge that this video is connected to them in any way.
Oh, of course they're not.
And there was nothing I could find on their Facebook page that suggested anyone named Mike has been featured on their Facebook page. Maybe it's just one nameless congregant, whatever. But I'm like, you haven't responded to this at all. But he says he goes to your church. So what up with that? Guess what? They did not respond to me.
Oh.
Now, I will say this guy is an anomaly. The church pushes a lot of awful views, which we have talked about before, but like outright racism isn't one of the things on the list. I mean, it's the church. It's global.
Real old-fashioned racism.
If they don't have brown people, they lose more than half of their people worldwide. But what's striking about his video to me is this guy seems to know that everything he's doing goes against Catholic doctrine and everything like that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care. Like, nothing about his religion seemed to tell him you should choose our moral path and not just whatever you feel like. He would rather listen to Nick Fuentes than any priest. And that's the sort of power of the right that a lot of priests have noticed over the past few years, because they're like, if I teach you about Jesus and like helping the poor, you just say Jesus is woke. I'm not listening to that. And they don't have any grip over their own congregations. So this dude is proudly racist. And instead of just trolling people online, it is playing out in real time in church. And the question I have for the church is,
what do you do about it?
Yeah, what are you going to do about it? Why are you allowing this guy? I know you're like, sinners are all welcome in our churches.
I mean,
but this guy's actively sinning with your help.
They don't. I mean, listen, this is a bad guy. The church is probably a bad place. But I don't know that it's fair to put the onus on the church. I
don't want them to kick the guy out. I don't think they would do that. I do want them to put out some statement. We don't condone what this guy is doing.
Fair. But like, I would just say, like, giving them the benefit of the doubt, which they haven't necessarily earned. Like, we don't know that they knew that this guy was posting this shit. Like, there's...
Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't. So I brought it to their attention. Now that you know.
Fair.
Now that you know, what are you going to do about this guy? Because he comes from your church. What are you teaching the rest of your congregation? Because this guy isn't getting the hint. So like, do you talk about race? What do you say about race? I think those are questions that should be a simple layup for any church.
Yeah.
They haven't responded. I don't know.
And you said this is Pennsylvania?
This is a church in Pennsylvania.
What a monster.
Chester Springs.
It's truly wild how emboldened these people are.
Yeah.
It really is.
Speaking of bad religious people, here's a story with the blast from the past. Remember Greg Locke?
Got it. Wow.
I know, it's been a
That really
while.
was that sort of set me
been a
back in
while.
time a little bit. What's up with him?
Okay, here's the story. Greg Locke, for the lucky few who don't know who he is,
Ugh.
he runs a place called Global Vision Bible Church in Mount Juliet, Tennessee, rural area, not too far from Nashville. I don't know if it's rural, but it's not too far from Nashville.
I mean, everything that's not Nashville is rural.
He basically decided during COVID he was going to go all in on conspiracy theories even more than before.
Sure.
So he started having outdoor services under a circus tent. He started preaching MAGA stuff instead of anything to do with the gospel. He started saying my entire job in life is to like fight the devil.
Ooh.
So that's his whole shtick now. I'm here to like rid you of the devil and promote whatever right-wing talking points we have.
And it's handy that he thinks that his job is to fight the devil, but he gets to decide what the devil is today.
Just to give you a little more on him, this guy falsely claimed children with autism suffer from demon possession. That was a thing he did. Yep. A lot of Christians were not happy about that one. He blamed the United Nations for what the Israeli government is doing in Palestine.
Great.
He called for more murder in the Gaza Strip.
Great.
He burns books. He's an anti-vaxxer. He thinks the moon landing was fake.
What books did he burn?
My favorite, anonymous witches were watching his live stream, and then they sit in front of a cauldron and cast spells on him.
Oh, no, my cauldron's in the shop.
I know. He thinks public schools are on a hiring spree for witches. He also hates owls for some reason. I don't know why. That's just a weird one
I've heard they're
to
not
me.
what they seem.
And more recently, he's been accused of spiritual and financial mismanagement from people who used to work for him.
Hold the fucking phone.
Uh-huh.
Spiritual mismanagement?
I mean,
Tell me everything.
You're just being an asshole to everyone who works for you, and you're saying everything bad you do is you're just practicing what God tells you to do. And also, just last week, he was preaching where? Mar-a-Lago. Okay. That's Greg Locke. Here's the story you need to know about this guy for this story, though.
Imagine just being Mar-a-Lago. How fucking miserable
I believe
that
the
must
cost
be.
of admission is
Your soul.
your face. You got to redo your entire face and make it look.
We're going to talk about
Mar-a-Lago
the Mar-a-Lago face
Yeah.
in bonus because I have many thoughts.
Okay. So here's the story about Greg Locke. In 2024, we did not talk about this when it happened, and it was like, I don't know what to make of this right now.
Okay.
In 2024, he claimed that he was nearly the victim of Christian persecution because someone fired gunshots into his home.
Oh, Jesus. Seriously?
Right. And here's what he said. Like September of 2024, he posts a message on social media basically saying, I'm going to just read to you what he posted.
Okay.
It's 2 a.m. And for the last 3 hours, our home has been a full-blown crime scene.
Jesus.
According to the security cam footage, we pulled into our driveway exactly 1 minute after a madman unloaded an entire magazine of bullets from an automatic weapon into our house, garage, and my truck. The sound on the video is truly horrific. Detectives will still be here for a good while tonight. Only one of our kids was home, and thank God not in the same area.
A kid was home?
And thank God not in the same area of the house. Blah, 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 something supernatural shit.
That's really scary.
But that's what he said. Okay. Yes, that is scary. That story was shared over 20,000 times on Facebook. And I think it's kind of easy to see why he might be the victim of such an attack, given all the shit he's done over the past several years.
But the people who don't like him tend to not have as many automatic weapons.
Right there. Yeah. So, like, I get why he says someone would be out to get him.
Sure.
But also, you're right. Like, who? Who would do that sort of thing?
Yeah, that is very
That's
MAGA
weird.
coded. Like the assault rifle is very MAGA coded to me.
Yeah. And so days later, he preached a sermon where he actually talked about this. And he basically said if his attackers ever catch up to him, he's not going to change what he's preaching because, quote, they're going to kill us for standing for righteousness. And he told the long, horrifying story of what happened. He was out with his family. He had a vision from God.
Oh.
Hey, maybe stay
Oh,
out.
a vision?
Maybe stay out a little longer tonight.
But not
Don't
call
go
your
home yet.
But not call your kid?
Exactly.
Come on,
And when they
God.
finally returned and saw the shell casings on the ground, I mean, he made it sound like my entire family could have been killed if they had just been in the house at the wrong time.
It sounds like
And
it.
he ended the sermon by asking everyone to praise God because God still protects his children. And then to
But
his,
not Renee Good.
but not Renee Good.
Okay.
And then to his assailants, he said, we're not going to slow down. We're not going to back up. We're not going to compromise. Imagine this with a Southern accent. We're not going to
Do
be
it,
cowards.
do it.
We're not going to just quit doing what we're doing and hang around a bunch of woke sissies that don't have a backbone.
Sissies. Oh,
Yes.
I haven't heard somebody be called a sissy since like
Oh.
1958.
See, this is what happens when you're not on social media. I get this all the time. And in fact, when one journalist responded to that social media post about the incident, just describing what Locke said happened, this journalist responded by saying, people are buying his story. Unbelievable. Like, didn't believe it for a second that everyone was just accepting this as true.
I mean, obviously I didn't, but
To which Locke responds, what's unbelievable is you taking so lightly what just transpired.
Did you FOIA a
That is
police
total
report?
trash for real.
did you FOIA a police report?
No, but also I had no reason to because why would I? I mean, okay, that scary thing happened. What's the police report going to say other than shots were fired? I mean, if that didn't happen, different story. But anyway, a sermon a week later, Locke claimed no gunshots are ever going to stop him from preaching. He said a week later, I'm going to run my race and Jesus is going to be the focus of my finish. This crowd can try to distract us and discourage us and shoot us and belittle us and hate us. But at the end of the day, I'm looking unto Jesus.
Unto
And-
Jesus?
Unto Jesus.
Cool.
And there was a Christian media outlet that wrote about this incident. They included a clip from that sermon where he played audio only, of the security footage where you hear gunshots, rapid fire gunshots, 60 rounds in less
Jeez.
than 3 seconds.
Wow, it's almost like we should not have access to that kind of weaponry.
Right. But when the Christian outlet wrote about it, Greg Locke posted that article and he said, thanks to that outlet for sharing this story in a truthful way. So he's promoting the narrative of all of this, right? His family ends up moving to a new home like right after that. Maybe it was already in the works, but they moved to a new place right after that. He acted like he was still persecuted in the new place.
Oh.
He said in a now deleted video, someone left a voodoo doll on my property.
A voodoo doll?
Quote, they had wired up a homemade voodoo doll complete with an upside down cross hanging on the bottom.
As opposed to the
He said, this stuff will not slow our roll. We send this curse back to sender. We do not accept this voodoo nonsense.
back to sender.
So-
Oh my God. I love that he's like a handmade voodoo doll as opposed to one of the many mass-produced voodoo dolls.
So anyway, that was September 2024. All this happens.
Yeah.
And like, okay, I guess you were shot at in your home, or I guess there was shooting in your
Sounds
home.
very scary.
We don't know
Big if
anything.
true.
There is an investigation taking place. Local police are involved, whatever. We're waiting for the report.
I still want to see the report.
December of 2024, a couple months later, a suspect was arrested. It was a
Oh.
20-year-old named Tyler Poole. There was no motive offered at the time. It wasn't clear why this 20-year-old would be going after Locke. Like, was
Do we
he
know
an
anything
atheist?
about- yeah.
Was he an atheist? Was he some hired gun working for Satan?
Is he a
And, like,
leftist?
what did... Right, is he a
Antifa?
leftist? What is it that Locke said that make Poole want to go after him? I mean, we didn't know. We just know, okay, they arrested this guy. Clearly, they know something about this guy that made them want to arrest him.
Right.
But like, what's the deal? And earlier this week or last week, like this month, Poole pleaded guilty to 1 count of aggravated assault and 2 counts of reckless endangerment.
Wow.
Because he's about to go to trial. And I think his lawyer told him, listen, the evidence is not good for you. And if you go to trial, you will be found guilty.
Okay.
You're better off just pleading guilty now before
Yeah.
the trial. Get your jail sentence because it's going to be less than what you're about to get if you go to trial.
Is this kid white?
His name is Tyler and he's in Tennessee. Why would you even ask? And by the way, after he pleaded guilty, he was given a 5-year jail sentence. And I think with time served, he's going to spend 4 years in jail. Okay. According to Daniel Silliman of the Roy's Report, now they got access to now we know what the prosecution had.
Yeah.
Like, what was the evidence that this
sure.
guy did it? And do we
So
have a
there's
motive?
not going to be a trial.
Right.
So therefore, a lot
So
of
all
the
this
evidence
information we
yeah.
collected, it's not about to come out.
Yeah.
but they got access to people with knowledge of the case. And the Roy's Report, Christian media outlet, I will admit they do very good investigative reporting, and they're also anti-trans. Take that as you will. Very Christian outlet. Anyway, Daniel Silliman, very good reporter, spoke to the prosecutor, got access to information, and what they said is there's no connection between the shooting and anything Locke has preached. Here's what the story said. This is from Wilson County Assistant District Attorney Tammy Mead. Quote, absolutely nothing. A juvenile had an argument with another juvenile, like boys do. They got into it, and someone got mad and got a gun. Basically, here's the story. Are you ready for this? The state had evidence. I'm paraphrasing now. The state had evidence Tyson, the shooter, was in a fight with Greg Locke.
Poole was the shooter.
Tyler Poole.
Who's Tyson?
Sorry, Tyler Poole.
Okay.
My mistake. The state had evidence that Tyler Poole was in a fight with Caden McGee, who happens to be Locke's stepson. So this 20-year-old was in a fight with Greg Locke's 17-year-old stepson.
Is he the son who was home?
I don't know if he was the one that was home, but in any case, the shooter went to the house because that's where the 17-year-old stepson lived, fired off all these bullets with a .40 caliber automatic handgun, reloaded multiple times to keep shooting. Quote from the DA, assistant DA, he just unloaded on the property, the house, and the vehicle. But basically, from what they can gather, they were fighting over a drug deal gone wrong.
Oh, Greg Locke's kids have drug problems.
Right, which, whatever, families have their issues. I don't give a shit,
do.
right? You don't either. But that's the thing. These two were fighting over, like, whatever drug deal gone wrong. The shooter doesn't, as far as we know, doesn't even know who the fuck Greg Locke is, much less what he preaches.
Oh, this is so
and here's the thing.
embarrassing
If you're Greg Locke, someone shoots at your home, I don't blame him for saying they were coming after me.
Of course.
Because I'm the one who's famous in this house.
I would think the same thing in my house.
Sure.
Because we're the famous
But here's
ones.
the thing. The Roy's Report, again, good reporting. They didn't stop there. They spoke to Locke's former head of security, who no longer works for Greg Locke, because he had a posse, he had a security team, because he really thinks people are out to get him.
But he doesn't need it anymore?
Well, this guy quit, and he said part of the reason he quit is because he found out Greg Locke just lies about shit. By the way, this head of security, John Guffey, he is still a Christian. He's very much a conservative Christian. He just doesn't like Greg Locke anymore.
Yeah,
but according to that guy,
those two things aren't mutually exclusive.
get this. The shooting had nothing. Here's Guffey. The shooting had nothing to do with Greg Locke or the church and had everything to do with Greg's wife's son, his stepson. Greg knows it was Caden and it had to do with Caden, but he's also like, hey, we can use this to our advantage.
No!
In fact, it was Guffey's wife who found evidence online suggesting a link between Caden and the shooter. Police used that information to look into Poole, and they were eventually able to confirm the hunch based off of whatever police do. And it wasn't a theological battle. It was a, quote, bad dope deal, according to Guffey.
I'm sorry, you're shooting up houses over weed?
I mean, people do stupid things. I don't know how gun culture works. But the thing is, this is what Guffey's saying. The Lockes probably knew this had to do with this stepson as well. And the night of the shooting, according to the head of security, they decided we can play this up. They
made an active decision?
Yes, here's what Guffey said. We were standing out in the driveway, Guffey said. The cops were taking pictures of the back of the truck. Locke's wife, Taisha, comes back out of the house. She's standing there for a minute and she says, now that I think about it, I think it was a hit on Greg. According to Guffey, Taisha repeated the idea several times, saying, I think it is. I think it is. Then, according to Guffey, she explicitly said, quote, we were going to let people believe it was an attack against Pastor.
Against Pastor?
That's the phrasing. And Guffey added, it's a good story to tell, Guffey said. It was done to bolster his reputation. So in other words, even that night when they got home and they saw all this chaos, they kind of knew, oh God, this involves our stepson. He's the one mixed up in these crowds.
Sure.
And then they according to the head of security, actively decided, let's keep him out of it.
Yeah.
Let's make this about Greg Locke instead, which is what Greg Locke did in the following weeks, including that night on Facebook. Now, when you add all that to the full understanding of the story, then you look at all these social media posts and sermons that Locke made, which I did.
Lying to our faces.
Here's the thing. When you look at what he posted, he never explicitly said the shooter's out to get him. He just suggests, I'm not going to stop preaching what I'm preaching. Just because gunshots come after, I'm paraphrasing. Just because there were gunshots in my house, I'm not letting the devil get me. I'm not stopping preaching what I'm preaching. He's not saying they came after me because of what I'm preaching.
Yeah.
Because he knew it wasn't that. He's just saying, I'm not letting this stop me. And it's
he thinks he's going to get out on this on a technicality.
Well, there's no crime lying is not a crime. But it seems like when you look at it in that sense.
Stone fucking list of rules in front of his house.
Yeah, but they don't read that far into the Bible. That's in Genesis, you see. Anyway. I think it is. I don't know anymore.
Also,
maybe Exodus. I don't remember
you
anymore.
You accidentally said paraphrasing, and paraphrasing is when somebody just starts preaching, but they don't really understand what morals are.
Well done. Huh? So
I've been baking that
so
one
after
for
that
30
story
seconds.
came out, the story said, we reached out to Greg Locke. He didn't respond to a request for comment.
Why?
Well, guess what? I'm like, wait a minute. I know Greg Locke.
You know Greg Locke.
We're buddies.
Heaven has spoken to Greg Locke.
So I reach out to Greg Locke. So I reach out to my personal friend Greg Locke, and I'm like, hey, Greg, it's been a while.
Can I have his number?
No. I reach out to him, and I'm like, hey, dude, what is up? How are you?
Any news?
And I'm like, hey, so the story's up. What's your response to this? And I'm like, he's not going to respond to me.
He isn't.
He 100% responded to me.
Yes!
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. First, the Royce report is the Jerry Springer of internet reporting. Which
Jerry Springer, who said, take care of yourself and each other.
Yeah. And I'm just saying, like, that's a bad way to start because, again, the Royce report is a Christian outlet, and they do a lot of investigative reporting, and like, I respect my investigative reporters. This outlet does a really good job of backing up the shit they post. Like, here's the document. Here's the police report. We spoke to this person. We spoke to multiple sources. I'm telling you,
I also love that no matter what the source is, they're like, that shill.
Right.
My own press secretary. You think her motivations are pure?
Here's what else he said.
Tell me.
It was my family and our home, so it had everything to do with me. I've never claimed it was over my preaching. I said, and still say, when you're making the devil angry, he fights you. My kids could have died. So the why, all caps, means absolutely nothing to me. It only means something to critics and liars looking for 15 minutes of fame. People use tragedy to fabricate a narrative that makes them seem credible. The Lord will reward them according to their words. I'll pause right there. Mm-hmm. I never claimed it was over my preaching. Buddy, I listened to your sermons.
You defo did.
You definitely did. Also, people use tragedy to fabricate a narrative that makes them seem credible. Are you talking about all of us?
Yeah.
Or you?
You literally doing it right now, this moment.
Yeah. And then he added, when I made the post the night it took place, everyone was still in shock and had no idea what was happening. Anyone who has that many bullets riddle their home and personal vehicle will never get over it. Which I might be sympathetic to, except that does contradict what his head of security, former head of security said. He said, no, that night they totally knew what was up. They had a hunch about it. They were talking about it. He also added, we've forgiven the young man and plan on visiting him in jail very soon. We wish him nothing but the best. All of us have made dumb decisions, and those decisions can either destroy us or define us.
Well,
and you know what? I'm with you on that. I don't want this 20-year-old to be defined by whatever, the stupid thing he did.
I think maybe he shouldn't have access to guns.
That too. Okay, fine. But I did
Locke
respond.
Say anything else about...
That's it. That's done with Locke's statement. I did respond to him and say...
Did you quote him?
Well, I said, you definitely preached about this. And I said, your former head of security seems to say that you definitely knew that night it was not that. So, like, what's your response to that?
Well, what are you going to believe, me or your lying eyes?
Right. And I will say he did not respond to that comment. So where did my buddy go? I don't know.
I would have just sent him a bunch of his own quotes.
Right.
But I'm passive aggressive and not a journalist. I just would want to bully him.
So here's the record now. Locke knew early on that the shooting wasn't about him, according to the evidence we have, yet he allowed and in many ways actively encouraged a false narrative to flourish. He portrayed himself as a potential martyr under divine protection, not unlike what Trump does regarding his assassination attempt by someone who the evidence has shown didn't actually give a damn about his beliefs either, despite being aware that the gunshots had nothing to do with his faith.
You know what's funny is my check engine light came on, and I think it's the Trump administration trying to get me.
Devil's out to get you. So it seems like another situation where Locke is capitalizing on a lie because he knows that the people he's speaking to are not going to question what he says. Like, that's where his morality leads him. That's why I don't believe anyone should take anything he says seriously.
No.
Not about religion, not about politics, and not about anything else either. And again, I don't want every family has issues. I genuinely don't care about his stepson.
Super don't care.
But he ought to clean up his own life before telling everyone else how to live theirs.
It's, I don't know. I saw a thing. I've been a little bit on Instagram. I need to get off it, but I sort of got sucked into some really good accounts. But there was one that was about, oh, motherfucker, I completely lost my train of thought.
All right, that's okay. I'm going to jump to a different story.
I got it. Sorry.
Go.
Thank you so much. This woman was being interviewed by a Nick Fuentes flavored person. I don't know exactly who it was. And she...
That's a new euphemism for white.
And she came on, and they're obviously very hostile to her. And she just started by saying, like, to the host, like, your wife has 3 kids by 3 different dads. And his whole thing is, like, traditional values and yada, yada, yada. And he, as soon as she says that, he just starts screaming, like, well, you look like you look cunts. Blah, blah, blah. And it's just, it is so fucking insane to watch somebody completely come unglued because, and she did a sort of another comment about it, and she's like, I'm not here to shame his wife. I am just saying that if you are a person who tells other women that, oh, your body count is what defines you, or, you know, if you have a baby out of wedlock, you're a sinner and you're used goods and you're trash. Maybe if you can extend enough grace to your own wife who has 3 kids from 3 dads, maybe you can extend that kind of grace to other people who you're not fucking currently.
There was a white supremacist / Christian pastor on social media this week who posted something about how interracial marriages are not, quote, ideal. He is in an interracial marriage.
Who said this?
I think his name is Dale Partridge, who is a white supremacist pastor, Christian nationalist pastor.
Is his wife Asian?
Hispanic, I believe.
Really?
And the thing is, again, like you just said, I don't care.
No,
but also,
God, why would I?
Why would anyone care? But it's like, my dude, you are actively bragging about how your marriage is not ideal. And then he goes on in follow-up things to be like, this has not, I'm just saying things would be better. I'm paraphrasing now. It would be better if she were white. There are complications. I love my wife. I'm just saying.
Do you know what
it was a lot of this?
Do you know what this gives me is J.D. Vance talking about how his wife isn't Christian, and he's not mad about it, but he also thinks she's a fucking dum-dum. Like,
Anyway, let's have a 4th baby.
It's almost like these people don't see women as full human beings in their own right and only as a reflection of themselves as they do. I think this is a thing we see time and time again, especially with, like, quote unquote alpha men, is that your family, your kids, your wife, your fucking pets, they're not their own humans moving around the world. They are your progeny. They are the ones who, like, are carrying on your legacy. So the way this kid comports itself is a direct reflection on me, and, like, oh, my 5-year-old spilled the Lego container. Like, you motherfucker, how am I supposed to get into heaven now? Like, it just is this weird, insane idea of it. And I think I've mentioned this before, and it won't leave my brain, so I'm going to bring it up again, is in that the Duggars documentary, the Shiny Happy People one. One of the women talked about how one of the values of that quiverful movement, which is, again, this idea of have as many babies as you can for the fight against God, or nope, that can't be it.
Yep. Have as many babies
as you can to fight the devil and stuff like that. And this woman was like, essentially what these men are doing is creating their own little cult.
Mm-hmm.
It's like your own homegrown cult, because if you have 8 kids and your wife,
And
then
they
all of
each
a sudden,
have 8 kids, and
then all of a sudden you're the patriarch of this family, because there is something inherent in men that like needs to be lording over something, apparently, or at least this flavor of man who needs to be like in control of things that aren't their own. And it's not exclusive to men, but it was still a lot of men. And it, to me, that is such a big red flag of how my kids reflect onto me, as opposed to, you know, encouraging them to be their own human beings and take their own journey and not be a David Barton clone of your terrible dad.
Go live your life.
Yeah.
I gave you birth. Go do something now.
Yeah.
Right. All right. I have one last story for you here today, and that involves the city of Broken Arrow in your favorite state.
Oh, Oklahoma.
There you go.
The
So-
wind blows.
Broken Arrow is not far from Tulsa. And not long
The
ago,
Paris of Oklahoma.
there you go. The Islamic Society of Tulsa wanted to build a new mosque. I did not know there were that many Muslims living in Tulsa.
In
but this-
Oklahoma.
I was thinking, like, in the Indian community, there are certain cities in the United States where we all congregate.
Sure.
Like random parts of New Jersey, random parts of Chicago. Houston's a big one. Like
North
that's
side
where
of Chicago
that's where
is,
Indians
like,
live,
yeah.
right? So Muslims, lots of them in Tulsa. Okay. They wanted to build a new mosque because the one they have is getting overcrowded. And if you want to build a new house of worship, you got to go through all the city construction. You got to get permits, all that stuff. So that's what they were doing. And recently, the city council voted against it. But the background is really interesting here because it's disturbing. Here's the deal. They have a mosque in Midtown in Tulsa. They said overcrowding is the issue. So they purchased property in 2014, about like 15 minutes away, saying, let's purchase this land. Eventually, our community will have enough money to build a building here.
And the idea, making a second one or making a
Second.
bigger one and tearing down the first one.
Just building a second
Got
one.
it.
And that space was that they bought the land on. It was originally designated for agricultural use, but they said, let's buy this land because we think this city is growing. And eventually they're going to say it's not
They're
agricultural.
going to rezone it. And
Which
then
is exactly what happened. In 2019, the city of Broken Arrow said that land and surrounding land, it can be used for commercial reasons. But and that's like businesses and stuff. But if you want to build a house of worship or have assembly space, we can grant you a conditional permit. Like you got to get special approval if you want to build something that's not providing us with tax revenue.
I see.
Okay, fine. That's normal and not weird at all. So the city was taking land that could have been used for farming and saying, hey, if you want to now use this to build a business, cool. We want you to be able to use it for that with our approval. And if a church wants to build a mega church there, that's fine, but we need to give you permission to do it, which is normal. Okay. So that's what the Islamic Society of Tulsa was hoping to get approval for. They said, we want to use our land that we own here to build, and I'm quoting here, a 42,000 square foot community center with a medical clinic that's open to the public and a worship area and a 20,000 square foot retail area as well. Like, and we also, you got to deal with sewage and drainage that is not currently there. We're going to take care of all that. Like, that's part of the deal. We got to do all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's what we're going to do before construction begins on any of this.
Right.
So, like, we're going to take care of this. We want to do it. We need your approval. And before the city's planning commission could vote for them to move forward with their proposal, conservative Christians started fighting against this.
Sure.
There was a meeting for the planning commission where cowards, shouted one. You're all going to be sued, said another. A third muttered something about terrorists.
Sued by whom?
I don't know. One person,
John, Oklahoma?
a candidate for the county commission, a right-wing candidate, said, it blows my mind that this is even being considered.
Just because it's
They're brown. Yeah, Lane Brown is that person's name. And Brown cited the recent shooting by Muslims of military personnel in Washington and Syria and said the commission would be, quote, quite literally inviting that kind of violence into this community. Others said Muslims constantly lie to get their way. One or two called the
Every accusation is a confession.
Oh, yeah. One or two people called the Islamic Society representative, Aslam Sayed, a liar directly to his face.
Oh, what did he lie about?
No, existing.
Oh.
Yes. And he said later, Syed said later, like, look, you are raising some legitimate concerns about traffic and
Sure.
drainage, which we are going to address. But he seemed even shocked by the level of bigotry. This is what he told the commission. The one thing that really hurt me is this idea of wanting to take over the country. No normal person thinks that way. We don't do that.
That's so
And the thing is, these are not random fringe crazies.
No.
Local Republicans, the Tulsa County Republican Party helped rally the opposition through emails and social media. So, like, these are not randos. This is very much the Republican Party doing all this.
The drainage piece of it reminds me so much of like people who say they're vegans and then all of a sudden strangers are like,
Are you getting enough iron or protein in your body? Like as if you give a shit about what
Right.
nutrients are
Right.
in my body. You just want to yell at me about being vegan.
Yeah, you're just mad.
Yeah.
And again, the legitimate concerns are there, but they're the same ones you would make against a megachurch that wanted to build. Because maybe the concern is,
Yeah.
well, the traffic's going to go up on certain days of the week, and that could be a problem in the community. And the mosque basically said, yeah, traffic might go up a couple times.
That's
when
what
we have our
happens
big
when you
things.
put buildings places.
But
People have to
also-
go to them.
But also, we're going to hire like cops to direct traffic and
Sure.
do all that. That's what all churches, all houses of worship do when we're
like
taking.
name one concern you
like-
have that isn't mosque based.
Yeah, that isn't brown based
Yeah,
or something.
exactly.
Another complaint they had is you're going to have speakers outside and they're going to blast calls for prayer at inopportune times of the day. And they said,
I'd like to introduce you to my friend Church Bells.
Yeah. Well, they also said, well, we have a mosque in Tulsa right now, and we don't do that. And also, we're not building any speakers outside the building. Like, they literally said this. Ask the people who live near the other mosque if we are good neighbors or not, and they will tell you we are good neighbors.
This is the definition of concern trolling. In case anybody's ever confused about what that looks like, this is what it looks like, and it's what happens when people are like, oh yeah, I'm fat. And they're like, yeah, but your risk of diabetes goes up and you might lose them fine. And it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, why do you give a shit about what I am doing with my life?
Eventually, none of those concerns that were addressed by the Muslims
Are
none of that
real.
stopped anything. Then they basically said they were morally opposed to non-Christians having any kind of space. This is a quote from one lady. We do not need or want another Dearborn, Michigan or East Plano Islamic Center.
East Plano, Texas?
Yep. Because they have Muslims there. So
Do
therefore, another person, Islam is incompatible with our Constitution. You can't have anyone
think
hostile to the
that's
Constitution,
it.
say the sort of people who voted for Donald Trump and
my
supported the
God.
rioters on January 6th. So here's the thing. The planning committee, they heard all these complaints during public comments and whatnot, but they were like, okay, but we need you to tell us about the merits. And eventually, in December, they voted 4-1 to allow commercial use of the property, and they
God.
voted 3-2 to allow a provisional permit for a place of assembly. So the planning committee basically said, yeah, you can start to build and or at least you can
Why
move
the
forward.
fuck wouldn't we?
Yeah, why the hell wouldn't we? And a Facebook page for the Oklahoma Doge, they reacted to that vote. They suggested those commissioners were rhinos.
Oh, yeah, Republicans in name only.
But again, those proposals just meant the proposal for the mosque goes before the city council. Like, we did our job. We're the planning commission.
Yeah.
We heard
We
everything.
planned it.
We heard everything. We approve it. Now city council has to take our recommendation and vote on it. You literally task us with doing the work for you. Here's our recommendation.
Yeah.
Yes. And now you have to approve it. That meant there were several weeks before the planning commission's vote and the city council's vote. And that is a few weeks for religious bigots to make a larger stand.
Sure.
And here's the weird thing to me. January 8th, earlier this month, Attorney General Gentner Drummond, who's been very good on church-state separation issues when it comes to Ten Commandments and Ryan Walters and all of that, he announced he's going to launch an investigation
No, he isn't.
into whether this mosque would be illegal, invoking terrorism in 9/11. Here's what he said.
No.
Yeah. Here's what he said. my office will examine whether the proposed development and the processes surrounding it meet those legal requirements.
What legal requirements? To prove that we're not going to 9/11 Oklahoma?
Local land use decisions. He also said, land for the development is owned by the North American Islamic Trust, which reportedly has ties to the radical Muslim Brotherhood. And then he added, given the realities of global terrorism, there can be no compromise on public safety and security. In our state, we have already seen a radical Islamist sentenced for plotting mass murder. Several 9/11 hijackers had attended an Oklahoma flight school. It is only appropriate to act with caution when the project in question might have connections to the Muslim Brotherhood.
I'm so sorry. Donald Trump is personally connected to a pedophile ring, and you're concerned that the people who own the trust that owns a piece of property have connections to terrorism? Like, what the fuck? The terrorism is inside the house already. Right. This is a very much closing the door after the horse left.
To state the obvious, there is literally zero connection between the Muslims trying to build a mosque in Broken Arrow and 9/11.
Just imagine if every fucking time Christians wanted to do anything, I'd be like, well, I mean, that's what the KKK did, so we need to investigate. And we should do that.
And that is what they are doing here.
As soon as I said it out loud, it felt like a great idea.
And that was disappointing to see from Drummond, because like I said, genuinely, he's been very good on church-state separation until now.
Racism is going to get you no matter what.
But he's also running in a Republican primary to become governor.
What a cunt.
So there you go. That's what that's all about. And it would be just as awful to say you can't build a new church on the same property because the Oklahoma City bombing was from a white Christian nationalist.
He sure was. He sure fucking was.
When the Broken Arrow City Council had their meeting to move forward with this planning committee's recommendation, first, there was an unofficial gathering before their meeting for all the whites in the community.
Oh, to do some praying?
To do some praying. And literally, there was literature passed out comparing Islam. It was basically denouncing Islam.
Sure.
The loudest applause at that meeting came from a young woman who said, I converted from Islam to Christianity. And then during the public comments at the meeting, it was insane for all the obvious reasons. And when they finally met about a week ago, the city council, the bigots controlled the floor.
No.
And that may have been why the city council voted 4-1 to reject the planning commission's approval for the zoning request and special use permit.
Neat.
And now some of the opponents cited secular reasons. Like one of the city council members said, the infrastructure needed to support some development is not in place at the time.
Okay.
But like the bigotry was never that far behind.
No.
Like one of the state senators who spoke out publicly against the mosque, he's one who just filed a bill to revive a ban on Sharia law. There was a Broken Arrow resident who has repeatedly connected the Islamic Society of Tulsa to terrorist organizations. And when she spoke during the public comments, she referenced the Attorney General's investigation into the matter. Counselors, that's why we're having this discussion. When an organization has been repeatedly connected to extremist groups, it's common sense.
So
the fear-mongering
stormed the Capitol.
The fear-mongering from the Attorney General was fuel for the bigots to use that as proof of why they shouldn't do it.
Cowards. Oh my God. If you don't have the courage of your conviction when you're the Attorney General of a state, what are you fucking waiting for?
So the responses after the vote, Christian nationalists were celebrating. One of them said, this is the way. Outlaw mosques.
Cool.
Other comments included, we're going to kick the rest of them out.
You didn't kick anybody out of anything. They just didn't build a building. It's not like there was like a boat of immigrants you turned away.
Here's the thing. The local Tulsa County Democratic Party, they spoke out against the vote. And they said in their statement, the Broken Arrow City Council sat in complete silence during public comments as people said things like, quote, not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslim.
Well, that's
and the Democratic
demonstrably
Party,
false.
Right. And this is what the Democratic Party said. Some of us were alive on April 19th, 1995.
Sure were.
When the Oklahoma City bombing occurred.
Sure were.
And even in statements after the meeting to the press, Mayor Deborah Wimpy chooses not to speak a word about the discriminatory rhetoric.
Sorry. Her name is Wimpy,
You
and
heard
she's being
me.
a coward.
She's being a coward.
Oh my God, that's
Now-
not nominal determinism.
So
that's when your name determines who you are.
there you go. At this
Ooh, I
point,
might have
the
gotten that wrong.
Islamic Society of Tulsa, I mean, there's not much they can do because the city council voted it down. And unless you can prove it's discriminatory, what are they going to do? Because they say on public record, like, yeah, the bigots took the mics during public comments. But when we're telling you why we're voting no, we're like, well, the land isn't ready.
Yeah.
And so if they're offering secular reasons, there's not much you can do at that point.
I'm surprised
But
that they haven't found some like fucking rare beetle that lives on the property. And they're like,
Right.
oh my God, we've always been big fans of these
So
beetles.
the spokesperson for the Islamic Society basically said, we'll consult our legal help and we'll figure out our next steps. He also added, I'm disappointed that my prayers were not answered, but it's an expected result. Which, I mean, there's not much you can do at this point unless there's some smoking gun that you're not aware of. I'm not expecting that to happen.
Boy, this episode is very racist.
I feel like, why should anyone care about this? Because if a Muslim community
Everybody should care about this.
right, I mean, if they can meet every formal requirement to build a mosque and still be denied because elected officials lack the courage to confront open hatred, what does religious freedom mean? Right? Like, this isn't some local controversy. It's a
don't
warning.
know.
It shows what happens when local leaders allow bigotry to fester when they don't respond to it. Because even if they claim this vote is best for their community, they are complicit in allowing this bigotry to go on without responding
You
to
can
it.
wrap it up in an American flag. You can wrap it up in concern. You can wrap it up in tradition. Racism is racism is racism is racism.
All right, I will stop there.
that it?
That's it. What are we talking about in the bonus episode today?
I actually have quite a few things to talk about, so we might actually have a decent conversation for
Yes.
once. Okay, I wrote down Mar-a-Lago face. I always want to talk about that. Most importantly, I discovered the wonderful television miniseries Heated Rivalry about two gay hockey players who have lots of gay sex. And I've watched it twice. I love it more than anything in the world. It's funnier than it has any right to be. The guy who plays the Russian guy is fucking incredible. I loved it. You should watch it. It's on HBO. I finally saw one battle after another. I was the only person in a room who got a trivia question right. Felt good about that. I want to talk to you about that. And I listened to the most fucking unhinged thing. Do you remember Man Cow Morning Madhouse?
Yes.
Do you remember a man named Drew Peterson who murdered his
Yes.
wives? You do?
Oh, I've seen the Lifetime movie. Come on. He's local.
He is local. Okay, so I hadn't known this, and I want to talk about some things I learned. Drew Peterson murdered his...
Everybody?
He had 4 wives. He murdered 2 of them for sure. He used to be a cop. Was like a real classic villain. Anyway, and just the most unhinged thing happened, and it was so. I'll talk about it on the bonus. You can.
It's why we have a bonus.
Yeah. You email us at whatever you do that. I can see if I can find
friendlyatheistpodcast
a
at
review.
gmail.com. You can leave a review everywhere you get your podcast. You can get your merch at friendlyatheistpodcast.com as well.
If you hear anything you think is funny and stupid, you can, reach out to us on Facebook. We're probably going to do another round of merch at some point this year. I don't see any new
All right,
things.
get on that.
Yeah, hey, tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
Tell a friend.
All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye.